Grown black folks talk. Grown conversation. Story time. The white man who thought but could not love me. I was in the park actually on the climb doing my walk trying to get this story told. And the Lord chased me out of the park with a strong wind because I would have talked to you about the two men who loved me the most, both of whom were black, and this one by contrast. But apparently, I need to just break this down as a separate issue so you can really focus on it, okay? Now, I didn't even know the terms divester or swirler. They really didn't exist when I was in my 20s. I'm 41. So to go back 20 years, 19, 20 years. But I'm doing what a lot of younger black women are doing now. You're going to what a lot of us have been doing. You're going to school, you're meeting all kinds of people, and the young white men are attracted to black women. In fact, if you do your history, they always have been. What's new is that they are treating you as human beings and treating you well. And this gentleman treated me well. Now, the manosphere says that women like me, unambiguously black and definitely fat, do not have a chance to get with men like this. That's just not true. Because what happens is the most suited personalities in a particular place tend to get together. Now, and also sometimes compliments attract. He was a, if He Man was going to go back to college and get a corporate job and be a little bit more centered with brunette, this is this young man. And he was able to walk through the world like this. And we had a whole group of wonderful multicultural friends because we live in San Francisco. We in college, working at the same job, going to the same college. And we knew that we weren't going to be at the same place after college, and that we were going to go places in the world. It wasn't, big deal. But I took my time and I knew him because I was not in the movements that think that I was not of the mind then that I wasn't going to find a black mate. So I really wasn't like committed to making this work because, oh my gosh, he's a white man. That's not part of my DNA. If I tell you the story about Frank and the ordnance specialist, you'll understand why. But this young white man, he always treated me with honor and respect. There's one conversation though. I didn't know anything about betting, but I was training to be a professional journalist. I remember we started talking about the future. And the future for him, he told me he wanted to make his money in California, get married, go back to Alabama where he would feel safe. And I'm 21, 22, and thinking to myself, wait, red flag, red flag. You are a master of the universe type white man already. There's doors that will open up for you because the people that founded this country want to hand it off to you. They don't want to hand it off to me. They want to hand it off to you. Every president to that point, almost all politicians and all men in charge of law, commerce, military, and the criminal justice system all look like him and want to pass the universe off to him. If they have to leave it, they want him to have it. How can you be scared? Why are you afraid? I didn't have answers for either of those until after Charlottesville in 2017. I was 36. Men like him are terrified of the demographic shifts that is going to make them a definite minority in this country. It's not, and people like him, his age, who were Charlottesville and January 6th, are not afraid of a world in which white men will not have dominance, because that's going to be true for quite some time, barring a world ending and civilization ending as we understand it catastrophe. If the Lord had let Vladimir Putin drop that bomb 10 miles to the west into Poland, okay, maybe. But that's still an argument between who? Europeans and European Americans. That still ain't have it. I mean, just scale wise, who has access to do those kind of things and start World War III? It isn't me as a black person. It probably never will be. Barack Obama was there for 8 years. We'll put that in there as an outlier. But who was his vice president and giving him counsel? The same man who's the president today, Joe Biden. So the power dynamic between a man like that and everybody else on the planet is huge. But men all the way down to his generation are so afraid that they pulled out the idol flags of men who were willing to shed the blood of 56 million people because they could not bear to live in a world in which it was even questioned. Not that it didn't, not that the dominance didn't exist, but they wanted to go back to living in a world in which even the question was punishable by death. Remember that I defined a functional Satanist, whereby we talked about Black men who feel like they should be worshiped by Black women and that any transgression of that makes it worthy of death. You were talking about a culture of men who want to bring out the flags of people who want to take the clock back to when, if it was even questioned that they had the right to kill at will anyway, because slavery for the Confederacy and Nazism is Nazism. I should not need to explain this. That they could do what they were going to live on God's earth and destroy the bodies of souls of men for their profit and their pleasure. To even question it was punishable by death. All those American white men at Charlottesville and January 6th, because they're scared to face a future in which people like you and people like me might be a little bit more represented in a world in which law, military, and commerce, law enforcement, and practically everything else was still going to be majority control because of majority control of the money in the world by those same white men. I had no way of knowing at 21 or 22 how big of a bullet I had dodged. I had no way of knowing. But that was when the future ended. I remember that I said to this gentleman, who, like I said, I'll say again, was never unkind to me. I said, well, you would feel safer with that house in Alabama, but I wouldn't. And, you know, in retrospect, we had a wonderful, diverse group of friends and colleagues and college mates, and I had no idea he was so unhappy, how miserable he was, not able to operate in a world where people had equal authority with him. And other people, not him, could determine what grades he was going to get, what promotions he was going to get. I had no way of knowing because he was always good to me. But 25 years down the line, when he couldn't stop the demographic shift, guess who the nearest diverse people would be that would have had to deal with his insecurity during his midlife crisis? Me and any of our biracial children that he would have had. I keep telling you. I keep telling y'all. I keep telling y'all. So you want to swirl. You want to divest. Fine. Please understand. This white man, like I said, it wasn't that I don't think he wouldn't have wanted to love me. He couldn't. He was terrified of what I represent in the future and what our children would represent. A time in which white men are going to be a definite minority. And see, here's the thing, if you get with a white man, you got to find this out because there's only two ways the United States can go. The United States can either peacefully make this adjustment to the future in which white people will be a minority, and since there are more white women than more white men, that white men will be a definite minority, or it will tear itself apart, and what you're going to need to do is give up on it and plan your escape. So if you're going to get with a white man, you got to find out one of two things. Is he going to be on the side of the people tearing it apart, or is he going to be able to give it up, you know, like Lot had to get out of Sodom and Gomorrah? Is he going to be able to get it up and get you and your family out? Or at least the United States is pretty big. Is he going to be able to get you to a place where people are serious about this, about surviving and moving forward? The United States could also fall apart. But the United States, as we know it, is going to have a really hard time surviving. So he's going to be willing to give up on the system to get you to a place to survive it, or he'll be on the side of people tearing it up. But you want to divest and you want to swirl, and you do not understand what these demographic changes are doing to the white population and how terrified they are. This man was 22 and already. And because he does not want to see a future, he may have grown by now. I don't know. He will never have a second chance, so it doesn't make any difference. But he couldn't love me. He didn't know it then. I did. Because he's afraid of a future in which people who look more like me and less like him, Mr. Master of the Universe, good looking white man, are the visible representation of everything. He couldn't deal with a future that looked like people like me actually being in charge of something. We had no idea. At that time, Barack Obama would bring this to light, Donald Trump would bring it to light more. And I sit here today, and like I said, it was worth a separate video to understand the size of the bullet that I dodged and the size of the bullets that some of you, without thinking about what it is you think you want, are going to go out there and find. Now, we talked about life yesterday. There are white men who are already not on this page of wanting to preserve their privilege at all costs. There are white men who are on this page, okay? There are white men who have shared value of all humanity. They exist. But you better make double sure, since remember, he got a father, a grandfather, a friend, an uncle, or somebody he knows at the gym who can do more than fix a ticket. The regular ways of vetting a man like that do not make a difference. Let me tell you something else. You know how this country gave a slap on the wrist? My dad could hold a crack rock and get more time in jail than the top 3 people that they caught at the Capitol combined, their jail time, to get more time. Mandatory minimums. My dad, upstanding citizen, could be arrested holding crack rock, I mean, he's in possession, and get more time. They gave a slap on the wrist to men like this for vandalizing the nation's capital. By the way, all the Confederates died in bed. So that's actually happened twice in 150 years. Basically, Charlottesville, most of the people involved there got a slap on the wrist. They killed a whole white woman, Heather Heyer. So if you're going to get a slap on the wrist for a murder of a white woman, you're going to get a slap on the wrist for attacking the Capitol. What would happen to be down in Alabama? And the worst thing about it is half of the black men, well, I don't know about half, but a goodly number of black men and a goodly number of black women. The black women would have been jealous because y'all think y'all want these white men. And the black men would have been mad because I chose to cross the line. And everybody, those persuasions would have said, well, you didn't have any business with a white man anyway. But you know what the sad part about it is? That particular white man, any white man of that viewpoint, they would have been right. But I chose to protect myself. And I'm trying to give you a chance to protect yourself. My divestor and swirler friends, if that's what you want to do, you better understand what the demographic shift in this country is going to mean to our politics and to our safety. You better understand and really get to know your man when you talk about what the future of America looks like and listen to him. I had more than one opportunity at that, by the way. And that same conversation rolled out. Well, George asked to tell me, it was at a business trip in Colombo, this is the real America. I'm like, no, the real America demographically is going to look like California that we just left. But if this is what you want, you enjoy that. That's happened to me twice. In a lot of ways, I was a natural match with these men, but they do not want a future. These two did not want a future that looks like me. Suppose I'd had children with these people. They don't want that future, remember? Yeah, I know a lot of y'all black didn't know. Deanna dated white. Yeah, I know something about that. I'm not someone who discriminates. I have dated 5'4" to 6'3". I have loved white men and black men. There's different things you need to look for. But if you're gonna go with a white man, okay, fine. Please understand if he's afraid of the future. Because if he is, the future looks more like you about to be in a world of hurt. I could never get this to work out. You see it. You see it. You about to be in a world of hurt. Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough. We're talking about another set of things. It's also life or death. With an Asian, big, tall, big, tall, dark, handsome Asian for just a minute. In a little while. Anyway, I want you to see this now and take this in. Please understand it. It's life or death. Those you divesting and swirling, understanding this is life or death. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.